Welcome, everyone. Today is January 21st, 2025. This is the Finance Committee. It is 6:31, and I'd like to call the meeting to order with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is being held remotely in accordance with the Governor of Massachusetts March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law GLC 30A, Section 20. And on March 29, 2023, Governor Healy signed a supplemental 2023 budget bill allowing for remote and hybrid meeting options for public bodies through March 31st, 2025. Well, welcome, everyone. We are continuing. So the first item on our agenda tonight is continuing with our department meetings. So tonight we have, let's see, let me look at my agenda. We have the budget meetings we have scheduled are recreation, then the town treasurer, collector, and debt service, the town accountant, and the highway snow and ice. So hello, everybody. Welcome. So I think I see, did I see Dana here?
I'm here.
Hi, I thought I saw you somewhere. We got a lot of, oh, you're right in the center. I was looking all around and I didn't see you.
Oh, she's the center square.
Well, welcome. Thanks for coming tonight.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So we'll let you get started and tell us about what's happening with recreation and let's talk about your budget a little bit.
Sure. So I guess I'll start with just the fiscal year 26 plans. For the general account is pretty cut and dry. So the 3% was added to the recreation director salary, which is the only salary. And then we have a general expense of $2,000, and that's it for our general account. So for fiscal year 25, it had been planned and approved through the process of town meeting for the salary to be adjusted and the weekly hours to go from 30 to 32 in this fiscal year. That just recently changed this January, the beginning of January. And that was kind of pre-planned so that we could help the beaches and specifically help with the guards. So the recreation department will be doing that. And I've already attended the beach commission's budget meeting and have met with the head guard and have started that work. So that'll, kind of be filtered in with the other recreation duties. So if you look at the fiscal year 25 and the allocated salary, that's where the 3% then is for the 26 as well.
Okay.
Were there any questions with that? Okay.
No.
And then Karen, I believe I had emailed you today a kind of at a glance sheet for some of our other accounts that we have. I always like to kind of go over that if you would like me to.
I would. And before you do, I realized I forgot to do one thing that I was supposed to do was actually introduce the Finance Committee members that are here tonight. So let me do that first, and then you can do that because we're required to let everyone know who's here. So I'm Karen Rouse. I'm here. Al Lees is here. Hugh Morton, Gary Carrero, Christopher Thrasher, Zach LeBrew, and absent is Michelle Orlando and Duncan Law, as far as I know.
I think you skipped Cindy.
Go ahead. Cindy, go ahead. Did I miss somebody?
Sure.
You missed me.
I missed you and Cindy Brown. Thank you.
That's impossible.
I got stuck in traffic on the way home from Providence and just literally opened up my laptop and tuned in, so I'm a little off, but thank you.
Well, traffic is no fun, isn't it? Especially in the cold and snow.
Thank you. All right, so back to you, Dana. So thank you. Yes, so we would love to hear of your sheet that you provided us. Thank you.
Sure. So I don't know if the finance committee members were able to get a copy or if you wanted to share it via the screen, but I can verbally just go over our different accounts and what we have, if that works.
That works. I did, when I saw it in my email, I did share it with the committee, so
Yeah.
they would have just seen it today. So-
Okay, great. So our programs, this is our recreation revolving account that rolls over each year. Since I started the position and in creating the recreation department, December of 2018. So it's been a little over 6 years now. And so our revenue for programs, for the fiscal year of 2024 was 45,000, a little over 45,000. And our revenue for gym rentals was almost 14,000. So the total revenue we brought in just through our programs, our recreation programs and events and gym rentals was 59,000 and give or take. So that's a to me a very healthy balance that we're bringing in each year. And then we have an extra. The balance that rolls over is around 96,000. So, so in addition to that, we have been getting grants through the Helen E. Ellis every year to help with our outdoor movie night series and our summer concert series. And the amount we received for our outdoor movie night series was $3,500. And the amount for the summer concert series was $5,500. So that's $9,000 that we get reimbursed based on those receipts. So the recreation revolving account initially fronts all those costs, and then we submit our receipts and get reimbursed. So I added that into the total revenue for fiscal year 24. So 164,000, a little over that, is what we have for the rec revolving account.
Dana, I just added it to the screen just in case.
Perfect. Oh, great. So if you scroll down just a bit, I can go over our expenses. Let's see. Is it able to be scrolled down, or do I do it?
Karen, you're on mute.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm at expenses there, and you can kind of at a glance, if you scroll down a little more, see our expenses. So our instructor fees are a little over 17,000, and then our summer and outdoor movie nights, that's what it costs, the 6,000, the 4,000. Office supplies are really pretty low for our department, just at 236. And then rec supplies, this includes any materials that we have to purchase for programs, for any kind of supplies, sports supplies, art equipment. If we're offering refreshments at a special event, all those kinds of things, is close to 6,000 there. So I would say that's one of our biggest expenses, other than our instructor fees. And then our professional development, I attend an annual conference, and I'm a membership of the Massachusetts Parks Association, et cetera. So that's under 1,000, around 800 there. Mileage is close to 900. And then cell phone is $50 a month. I use my cell phone constantly. So I get reimbursed for that per month. So that's 600. So our total expenses there, as you can see, are about 40,000. So the total left, if you minus our expenses and in the recreation revolving account, is about 124,000 there. If you go to the next page. Now, these are some of our other accounts. We're lucky enough to get a playground gift account with a 500,000 grant allocated to the recreation department from an anonymous foundation. for the playground improvement project that we did for the annex. So far, we have paid 75% of the cost of the playground equipment through MRC Game Time. And I actually just received the other invoice today. So we will be soon paying for the rest of that. So out of that grant, we have, you can see that, oh, sorry. Oh, I made a mistake there on that one. I'm sorry. I think we're basically going to exhaust that grant like very soon. I think I put the wrong total there. But we have spent $458,000 on it thus far. Forgive me for that typo on that. Okay, and then if we scroll down to the community preservation funds that we have, so before I came on board in 2018, in fiscal year 2015, the Recreation Commission at the time had gotten community preservation funds for annex gym rehab and access, and we actually just exhausted those funds. We just had the gym painted, and it's looking so much better. The walls had to be repaired with some damage there from old, I think, water damage in the corner. And so that's a really good thing. We were able to exhaust those funds since it was back from 2015 that we got them. And then we also have funds to improve the back outside area of the annex, which we've done a lot of work over the years by building the stage, by getting new fencing. We repaved the basketball courts. But we still have some money to use there, a little over $5,500 there, that we will hopefully exhaust this year. Then we have in 2024 and 2025, we have community preservation funds to use to continue the playground improvement project with Bicentennial Park in mind. So I double checked the figures today. We have used $54,878.50 of the funds so far. And we have the $295,000 left to use. So that, as well as what we received allocated for 2025, will go toward improving and getting a new playground for the Bicentennial Park. Okay. And then if you scroll down, we do have a monetary donations account of just $1,250. So I just want, it's kind of just like there, people had donated funds. So we have it in that account. And then I just have a simple little thing there for the general expense account. And we did use the general expenses for the most part, except for just under $3 from this past fiscal year. So that is my presentation. I welcome any questions if you have them.
So Dana, I've got a question. I don't see any hands up yet. So let me see. No hands up. So looking at your the schedule that you just had,
Yes.
it looks as though you're building your revolving account, right? So you started the year with about $96,000. Your incoming revenue was $59,000, and then you expended 40. So you're building, right? So you're building your revolving account, which is now up to $124,000. Do you have plans for that? I mean, it's wonderful that you're taking more money and that you're spending.
Right.
So that's a good change that you're, but do you have plans for that? Are you looking to build it to a certain amount, or do you have a big project coming up that you're looking to use that for?
Yeah, well, thank you for that question. It's actually a good problem to have, right?
Right.
And so we are going to be discussing this with the Recreation Commission about how we can maybe take some of these extra funds that the Recreation Department has now that we've been successful over these past 6 years and see if there's anything we want to do. One of the things that we might look into is we're currently getting various quotes from different playground companies for Bicentennial Park. We also have put in an application for additional community preservation funds to address that park as a whole. Right now, there's equipment stored on that park, and from the work being done up there on Gifford Road. And if you drive by, it really needs help. It just does not look like a nice, friendly park anymore. We really need to, improve that area for the community to enjoy. And so that is one area that possibly, if we're short on funds for, say, like improving the playground, or if we, want to do something a little extra that wasn't really on the plan originally, we might have some funds from there that we could dip into as a possibility. And I think it's really kind of something that's exciting to discuss with the Recreation Commission and see if they have any suggestions or ideas. One other suggestion could be, like, maybe down the line, we want to look at a part-time staff of sorts. So I don't know. I'm not sure. But I'm excited to kind of talk about possibilities.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Anybody have any questions for Dana? I see no hands coming out.
Nope.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I really enjoy the work that we do, and it's been so gratifying this past year to see the positive things that have been happening with the new annex playground, and then now planning for the Bicentennial Park, and then also just this Saturday we have a pizza and bingo event that we're running, which sounds really simple, but we have 60 people signed up with a wait list.
That's great. Great.
So I think the community is looking for opportunities to socialize, to gather, to do fun things with their family. And we're really glad we're able to provide that.
Yeah, well, thank you. We took a big leap of faith, right, 5 or 6 years ago when the committee formed, and it's nice to actually see that you're being successful in the community and well received, and it's actually financially even making sense that you're self-supportive. So that's terrific all around.
You've really turned it around. You've done a great job. You've done a great job.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that feedback. It means a lot.
Yeah,
Karen, you Morton.
Oh, but Hugh has, go ahead,
Hugh
Hugh.
has a
I just
question.
wanted to say that it's my impression, but I'm interested in your reaction, that the new playground has been very well received. Not today, I suspect.
No, today was covered with snow.
When there's
But
no-
will look pretty
when
nice
you don't
coming out of
freeze
the
to
snow.
death, right.
Oh, thanks, Hugh.
I will say, even in the winter time now, if it isn't snowing and super cold, I see people out there.
Yeah.
They're in their coats and they're out there using it, which is wonderful.
Right. That's great. Thank you. Kimberly Lima, you have your hand up. Hi there.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Hi, sorry about that. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Lima. I serve on the Westport Recreation Commission with Dana, and we've been so grateful to her over the last few years, as you all have mentioned. I just had a couple general questions, if time allows. I know it wasn't on the agenda, just specific to our general budget. As you know, we're a revolving fund. Is that okay if I take up a few minutes? Okay.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
So as Dana had expressed, we've been kind of looking at, now that we have installed one playground and working on another, what are those ongoing maintenance costs going to look like? Because in the past, we haven't really had much success with, overall maintenance of the playgrounds. And we want to ensure, if we're going to, raise funds to invest in 2 beautiful new playgrounds, that it's being well maintained in terms of like landscaping and things like that. So my question is, if there are certain resources that are available to us, but we're not able to get them financially, how would that work in terms of like appropriation? Like, would you appropriate those funds from other departments to make up for that and to our department? Or, would it be upon us to look into other options? It's kind of what we've been starting to do, like in terms of hiring somebody to take care of that maintenance. But I was just curious, like, how does it work, since we're a revolving fund, but we also have a general fund with the town?
Right. I think that those are great questions to talk to the town administrator about. And it depends on what expenses that you're looking that maybe the highway department
Yeah.
may or not be able to do those, or, but that would be a conversation that I would start with the town administrator to understand what the existing departments may have for capacity or to be able to assist in those things.
Yeah, and we have started those discussions. I guess my question was, even if we have the free cash to do that, if it's something that is falls under the umbrella of another department but just isn't happening, would that warrant an appropriation from department to department, or would it just be expected that we would have to make up that difference through the revolving account?
I think that's definitely a question to start with the town administrator on that. As we all know, all the budgets in town are extremely tight, right? So to increase other departments' expenses is not something we're able to do so much, but, and if you have a revolving account that may be applicable for those sort of expenses to be used with that account. So that's in part why I was asking the question, what's the plan on that balance? Because that's an element that potentially would be maintenance and supporting your recreation activities, which might include the playground. But again,
Okay.
I'm not the expert, so it's really the town administrator. Is the playground is town property, so it's not, I don't know if it's the recreation department that's expected, but I would definitely start with the town administrator, ask those questions.
Mm,
Okay, yeah, we've started those discussions. I think it's just, the timing and everything. But I also didn't know if you had any more information on that to share, so just wanted
Yeah, thank you. I don't.
to check in on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Our town
Karen?
accountant might be here and might be able to chime in too, but
Actually, it's Sue
or Sue
Brayton.
Brayton's here.
Yes, actually, the Recreation Department is a separate section of the law, and it's supposed to be funded entirely from the revolving fund, except for the department head salary.
Okay. Does that apply to other revolving accounts in town as well?
Each department, you've got to read the law on how your department was created. And that's it doesn't matter what the different departments are. The school department is one thing, the highway department's another thing. Like
I guess I was
department
referring to.
a separate set of rules on how they spend their money than the rest of the town.
I mean, other
Uh,
enterprise funds, other revolving funds
Right.
within town. Do they all share that same?
Not
You know.
necessarily. Like the harbor master has part of his department is a town funded department, but he has water enterprise fund, which is a separate revolving fund that has to be spent in a specific way. It's like even the recreation department, the department head is town funded. The rest of
Right.
it,
No, I understand
the
that.
rest of
part.
it is everything else under the law says that you have to utilize the revolving fund.
Yeah, I think it's just confusing because it's town property that we're also utilizing for our services. So we don't own the property,
Yeah, the town owns the property. I don't own the treasurer's office. The treasurer's department doesn't own the treasurer's office. I don't own the collector's office. It's all
Right.
part of the town. We all operate on town-owned property. The
Yeah, think
highway
about
department.
it.
No, I guess I mean in terms of the playground, the
Right,
playground.
Think about it. Think of it as the water enterprise fund or sewer enterprise fund. The water mains and sewer mains in the town are town property, but those are specifically set aside as enterprise funds because at some point in time, town meeting made that decision, and that all the expenses were to flow through the enterprise fund. Now, it doesn't mean that if you were to ask for capital expense, like if you needed
That's what I'm basically
if
referring
it's
to.
capital, then that would fall in front of the capital improvement planning committee, CIPC or whoever they
So
are,
even,
to then vet out the process of does the playground come before a school project? So that's really where that falls. But I'm
yeah,
sure
that was my question. That's exactly what I was referring to, not other expenses, but in terms of, like you said, a capital project or repairs or,
Yeah, that's something
Yeah,
that
like
would
Well,
go.
repairs and
that's
maintenance.
something that
repairs
would
are different. Repairs are different. I mean,
Yeah,
that's not a
repairs are
capital.
different because repairs are routine maintenance.
Right.
Right,
A project like building a brand new is something totally different than routine maintenance.
right.
Right.
But the playground comes under the umbrella of the Recreation Commission. The Recreation Commission is the one that developed the playground. And because it's on town property, that doesn't mean that some other town department would necessarily be the ones that would be required to maintain it. So if
Well-
you have a budget to maintain it, then you would use whatever funds you have to either pay someone to maintain it, or if you're asking for another town department to maintain it, that would have to be worked out with the town administrator.
Mhm.
So just to clarify, historically it was maintained by the highway department. But aside from that, when I looked at the bylaws, the bylaws point to the highway department in terms of maintenance for any open public spaces within town. So to me, that's the playground and town property.
Well,
So that's why I'm asking that question.
you mentioned.
But I mean, I can,
It's a great question, and I don't think any one of us have the answer, so I would definitely
Yeah.
start with
Yeah.
the town administrator to kind of go through what the bylaws are and to see, so,
mhm.
Historically,
Sorry, I
you
didn't-
mentioned too that the highway department took care of it. When I
Yeah.
first started working for the town, the highway had over 20 men on the department. They now have 5.
Yeah, and I understand that. Like we totally are understanding of that, and that's why we proposed a solution of just allowing us to find somebody to subcontract it for a minimal expense versus, having to utilize full resources to, maintain it. So,
I don't think the highway department would argue with you about that.
exactly. So,
They would be very happy if someone else took care of
yeah.
that.
So that's kind of why we're looking at these different options and things like that. So we'll refer back
Yeah.
to Jim on that.
Great.
But appreciate the
Yeah, you should.
input.
sure thing. Hugh, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, I support everything you're saying. I would have no illusions that would be money for other departments to help maintain. I'm all in favor of maintenance, important to do. But the police and the fire are trying to find someone to cut the grass around their stations at this point. There's no extra. The police and the highway department and the maintenance in terms of grass cutting, et cetera, is right now stretched thin. So I would have no illusions that would come out of another account. Talking to Jim is absolutely the right thing to do. I think it has to come out of the revolving account because the whole idea when the department was set up was it was going to be self-supporting.
It is.
Well, but if you're using other departments, you're not self-supporting. If you're using the revolving fund, you are.
Yeah, but you could argue that with other departments that utilize town resources as well. So
I have, as Susan said, there are specific rules for the different departments. And the rule when the recreation department was set up was that it would be self-supporting. But I go back to what Karen said a moment ago. Talk about Jim. Maybe there's something I've overlooked or we've overlooked. It certainly, I don't mean to be critical of the idea of wanting to do good maintenance. Of course, that's the right thing to do. Paying for it's the problem.
Anything else, Hugh?
No, that's
All
all I
right,
have
thank
to say.
you. All right, thank you. Christopher, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so just a couple things. First of all, I just wanted to thank Dana for the work that she does. I think there's, if you have not had a chance to ever take advantage of the programs that they put on, that really we've went to a couple of the movie nights over the summer, and certainly been taking advantage of the playground. I mean, it's great stuff. So thank you for all the work that you're doing on that, and to the rec committee as well. I guess I want to follow up on that as far as clearly the rec department is self-sustaining, and that this programming is continuing to be funded by the fees collected and grants and whatnot. Just going back to when this department was set up, I'm curious, was it specifically the intention that the properties like the playground would become the responsibility of the rec department going forward, or was the purpose of the department specifically for programming? Because it was my understanding, I thought anyway, that it was more of a programming than the facility situation.
That was my understanding, Dana.
So when I first started, it was never specifically stated to me. I think it was so new that it was, I had the job description, and I don't think it really, I'd have to look back, said anything specific about the oversight of the parks and playgrounds. I think it's just a natural fit that goes with the recreation department, kind of like now how they're saying, well, it might be a natural fit for me helping with the lifeguards and beaches. I am all for helping with the playgrounds. Obviously, with the new one we were able to install, and we do have some really great plans for the Bicentennial Park that we're going to be actually presenting to the select board. That's multi-phase. We're going to hopefully be presenting that in, I believe it's February. So I'm all for doing what I can to improve the community through our department. That being said, I'm still learning, even 6 years in, some of the bylaws, rules, and things that have been in place. It was told to me in the beginning that the highway department, cut the grass at the playgrounds. And so anyway, we're just trying to figure out, we have reached out to the town administrator, and we're hopefully going to come to some sort of resolution.
Great, thank you.
I just echoed that I thought that the highway, the playgrounds were not on the agenda. It was set up to have somebody do something, and she did not much more than anybody ever expected. Thank you. But the playgrounds came along a couple of years ago when everybody said they're terrible disarray and something needs to be done. So it was not envisioned up front. It wasn't excluded, it just wasn't thought about.
Right.
And events developed over time.
Sue Brayton, you've got your hand up.
Going in another direction for this, next year, 2026 is the United States 250th year. Do you have any programs?
Yes, I actually just met with a group at the Council on Aging last week with some, beginning talks about how to celebrate that anniversary. And I look forward to being a part of that brainstorming group, and then helping even implement some of the plans that maybe the town would do to help celebrate that.
Okay, very good. There is, so that you know, a separate fund available for specific deposits to be made for celebrations of this nature. There's not much in it right now. It was last used, I believe, for the bicentennial year. But on the other hand, if it's a place that you can put some funds specific for this, if you do some fundraising for this event, we can put the monies there.
Wonderful to know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Dana? I don't think so. All right, I think we'll let you be free now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. Have
All
a
right.
good evening.
Thank you so much. All right. 1 second. So just for the notes for the minute, I saw Duncan Law came into our meeting at 6:57. He joined our meeting. Hi, Duncan.
Greetings. Sorry I was late.
That's okay. You're here now. All right. So the next item, the next budget we have is, we have the treasurer and the town accountant. Do either of Nicole or Susan, do you have to depart quickly? Do we need to take either one of you first or second, or does it not matter?
No, Sue can go first.
All right, Susan, you're up.
Okay. Did you get my budget? Which one do you want to do first? Debt?
Sure, whatever you'd like to do.
Okay. Let me look for my narratives. Okay, I don't see them on my screen here. So let's start with debt. Debt is what it is. Can't change it. It's what we've expended, but I have reviewed it. A lot of people keep asking me, when are some of these things going to roll off the budget and so forth. So the first thing would be the fire station that'll be rolling off in the year 2030. Police station in 2038. Elementary school roof payment 2043. It looks like the middle high school will be 2053. Bristol Aggie, I believe 2052. And Diamond, they haven't finished borrowing yet, so we'll leave that one as a big guess. Our non-excluded debt is debt that directly impacts available funds for the town budgets. For fiscal 26, the impact on the town budgets is $478,836. The majority of that is the campground. The balance, the combined balance and interest for FY26 will be $141,791. And that will be the final payment on the campground.
Oh, good.
Good. Yeah. Excuse me.
So then we have the school PCB cleanup, unfortunately, that we're still paying on. And that one we're paying right now, it's 200 for this year will be $213,902. The final payment on that, unfortunately, is not until 2032. Police station, the impact for the police station, which is the $1 million, the additional funds that they borrowed after the excluded funds that they had. But on just the non-excluded funds, the impact is going to be $113,063, and that again will be rolling off in 2038. And then we have a Clean Water Trust loan that is part of our water management plan, and that's only $10,080 for this year. It's 2041 that will roll off there. That was a 20-year loan that we took for the water management plan. It was only $150,000, so we're not paying down much each year, but they do all their loans for 20 years. Now, our non-excluded debt is outside the debt limit, and it's funded through, outside the debt limit is funded through the repayment of septic betterment loans. Currently, we have 3 loans that total $1 million, and the town meeting approved an additional $500,000 loan in February, which will be closing in February of 25. This first payment is due in FY26. The idea behind these loans is that the people who have betterments, as they pay up their betterments, the money's there to pay off these loans. So that's why it's considered outside the debt limit. It's not excluded debt. It's not non-excluded debt. It's funded from the repayments. I anticipate the Board of Health may be requesting that we apply for another loan through the Clean Water Trust. At this time, with the 4 loans, we're going to have $1.5 million out in loans, and about 40 of those loans have serviced we still have about 40 individuals with outstanding loans.
Why doesn't she show her face?
So, in my opinion, these loans are not in the best financial interest of the town. Most betterment loans are issued for 20 years, which means the assessors, tax collector, treasurer, accountant process and maintain all the records for these until the final payment is made, which is 20 years for all of those loans. Most of the record keeping is done on Excel spreadsheets, and early payoffs must be manually calculated and entered. We often have people pay off loans early to save money on the amount of interest paid. When the property is remortgaged or sold, the bank requires that the loan be paid off. We have had several people pay loans off immediately after getting the funds, as they're in the process of selling the home and need to meet Title V requirements when they apply. In cases such as this, the people pay only a few months of interest, yet the town is got to pay for 20 years. We're paying 2.25% interest on over 20 years. We're currently charging 5% to the homeowner. The idea is that we charge more to the homeowner. It does cover, hopefully, the people that pay over the full 20 years will cover the people that are doing these things where they take out the loan and then pay it right down. But it's putting us in the position of acting as a banker or a mortgage company, and that is not really, the town is not a bank or mortgage company, but that's what we're kind of doing for these people with these. We also have authorized and unissued debt, which is an
Sue,
ag. Yep.
Can I ask you a question before you go on?
Yeah.
On the septic betterment. So, and I know Mass General Law is going to dictate everything. So, and I'm not an expert in that, but just curious, is there anything, so what I heard you say was the cost to service this loan for 20 years far outweighs any interest expense that the town collects. There's and especially if someone pays it off early, you're maintaining, doing a lot of work. And so my question is there anything allowable to either issue in the loan agreement itself to have a prepayment penalty? So if it's paid off in the first year, there's a penalty or a fee of some sort. And, is there anything like that you can kind of recoup some of the costs that you're doing to set up this loan and then it automatically gets paid off really quick?
I don't believe so. There's a whole set of guidelines.
I'm sure.
Unfortunately, I've read through them so many times, more than I care to. And I don't believe there's any provisions in there for us to do that.
So administratively, then, if that's the case, then either the town has to decide that it's worth the service to the residents, and therefore then you employees will have to cover the service cost as an additional burden, or we don't allow it, right? So I think that's what you're trying to say, that it's a burden. It's a burden to maintain the service of that,
right?
Without a financial benefit coming back to the town to help.
Right.
There's no provision in the law to allow that to be passed on to the resident, and only because the loan is with really the trust and the town, and not with the resident. The town is just acting as a fiduciary enabler to collect that money. So it's not between the trust and the residents, between the trust and the town.
Except the town is doing a lot of administrative work, right? But
you could say that it's a flaw in the
right,
legislation.
okay.
Yeah, they allow us to take, I think it's 2 or 2.5% or something of the original amount, and the person who is doing the work to prepare the loans for the residents and working with the residents to get the loans gets paid their administrative costs. But after the loan is finalized, there's nothing to cover it for the administrative costs for the remaining 20 years.
Mhm.
I had a question
Okay,
along-
thank you. So Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah, so I had a follow-up question to that. So tell me exactly what's involved. So you said that you're charging 5%. It only costs the 1.5%, but the homeowner is paying 5%. So that leaves 3.5%. But you said something about you're only able to keep 2.5% of that. Does
No.
the state?
No,
Okay.
it's actually, we're charged approximately 2.25% from, it's 2%, but then they have administrative fees that they charge us on our hours.
Wait,
So it
the
comes to
state,
two and
the
a
state
quarter.
does.
Yeah,
The
Wait,
trust.
the trust does.
the
Okay.
trust does. So it's roughly 2.25% that we're paying on. So we borrow $1 million and we're paying 2.25% back on that $1 million.
But the homeowner's
Then-
only paying 1.5?
No, the homeowner's paying 5%.
5%.
At this time, I'm
Okay.
going to say at this time, I'm not,
5%. Okay, 5.
Yep.
All right.
and
So that's about what, $22,000 a year on $1 million.
but
Yeah.
what happens is somebody will pay back, they'll borrow $45,000 to put in a
Yeah.
septic system. And 6 months later, they are paying back the 45,000 plus 5% for the 6 months.
Yeah.
And that's all we're going to get for interest from that person. So we'll have the 45,000, we can put that in a bank account and some interest can earn on it, but that money is 45,000 that's, we're only getting, say we get $1,000 of interest. That's not 5% over 20 years on that 45,000.
So how often do they make payments on these loans?
They're billed on these loans through the tax bill. It gets added to the tax
Okay.
bill, which is where the assessors get involved. They have to they get a schedule of payments from when they do the loan. It gets added to the tax bill. Collectors collect it, of course, record the payments there. And then we always have to balance out, of course, with the accountant who has to monitor all the different funds because each loan is accounted for separately.
Okay. All right. I was just trying to understand the mechanism of it. I mean, so you said how many loans are there in total? 40?
At this time, I think there's about 40 or so that are
Yeah.
still unpaid.
Right. Okay.
There's several that have, we had one just recently. The woman wanted to pay it off before before the Board of Health even had a chance to record the lien. It was,
Yeah.
things like that. So she paid she paid less than $1,000 of interest. She had borrowed, like I say, 40,000, paid less than $1,000 of interest, yet we're paying 2.25% on that 40,000.
But once the principal is paid back, you're not paying the 2.25 on that anymore.
The interesting thing is we can't take that 40,000 and pay down the loan. If you try to pay off Clean Water Trust loans, there's a clause in there that says you can't do it, or you can, but then there's recalculation penalties and this and that, and they charge us extra fees and so forth to pay it down early.
So the homeowner can pay it down early, but the town cannot.
We can't.
The servicer cannot.
Correct.
Okay. All right, now I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great, thanks. Al, go ahead. You've got your hand up.
Yeah, just a two-part quick question. So Susan, the town's expenses are front-end loaded in I'm asking a question, not making a statement. So if somebody applies for a loan, gets a loan, and then decides in 2 months, pick a number, to pay it off, all of our expenses are front-end loaded at the administrative level, and then after they pay it off, this thing continues on for the termination, 20 years or whatever it might be.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's a good idea. All right. And my other question is, geez, maybe I should take one. Anyway, back to a bigger point. What is our default rate on these loans?
I have not calculated that. We haven't, default rate?
We have
No,
a lien.
Yeah.
Have a
we
lien
do
on
not,
it,
we
right?
have a lien, we do not default.
Okay.
Have a default rate. We have had a few people go into tax title.
Yep,
Because of
okay.
it, because the billing mechanism for them is they are added to the tax bill. So if
Okay.
they don't pay their taxes, they go
It just
into
gets
tax
rolled
title.
rolled into the penalty and interest of the non-payment of the tax bill.
Yep, and they can actually
Okay.
go into tax title and foreclosure for it.
Okay, fair enough. That's fine. Those were my two point in question. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Nicole, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on Sue that some of the loans that we've given out are a lot less than 5%. Some of the ones that they did for the denitrification were 1% or 1.5%. So, not all of them. We're not collecting 5% on all of them. And it is a lot of work for the person who does the loans themselves. She does all the amortization schedules, all the recordings, engineers, all that, coordinates everything with these loans. So basically the homeowners don't do much. The person that does these loans, she finds the engineers, she coordinates, the perk tests, everything that goes along with these septic systems. So it does tend to be a lot of work, and we have 4 of them that are running. So accounting wise, when a collector takes a payment and they make a payment, then I have to make sure that the payments go into the 4 different funds separately and keep track of that.
There was something that happened at one point, which is why the loans got increased to the 5%. At one point, it was not, it's the law states it's the treasurer that sets the rate. And prior to 2020, it was not the treasurer that was setting the rate.
Okay.
That's when I came in and read it. Read the law. So that's why you have some loans out there that unfortunately are at less than 5%.
Great, thank you for that. Hugh, go ahead, you've got your hand up.
He's muted.
And you're on mute, Hugh?
Not necessarily a mistake. Remember, interest rates were basically 0 a few years ago.
Mhm.
So that they probably reflected the prevailing interest rate at the time when the loans were being made. On the other side of that, if I understand it correctly, if we have to pay the upfront processing costs, I'm not sure, I've heard that both ways. Does the applicant pay the costs up front, or does the town? Just reserve that one. But when that's paid off, we've got the money to invest, earning interest at a current banking rate, which is now around 5% or so. That's not such a bad result.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Hugh. Al, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I'm going to take just a quick contrarian approach to this. So I understand that it's additional work for the treasurer, for the tax collector's office, whatever it might be. My question is, would we not have an additional person in either one of these offices if we didn't have this burden? Yes, it's additional work, but is it costing the town money? Do we have a part-time FTE? Do we have a full-time FTE because of it?
No, we don't have we would actually have time to get the work done, the other work done that we're supposed to be doing.
Okay, but it's not costing, quote unquote, costing us money in terms of another payroll person. It's just another burden that we could be doing other things with. Is that fair?
Correct.
Oh,
Okay.
it's a state mandate.
It's a state
Of
mandate.
course, one more
There you
unfunded.
Unfunded state mandate, yes.
There you go.
It's just one of those things added to our list because it needs to be done and somebody's got to do it, so we do it.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough. I just wanted to bring that up on the table, so I'm good.
All right, great. All right, Susan, I guess you can keep going on to where you were going.
Okay, where was I
I
going?
stopped you on that one. Thank you. That was definitely well worth a pause on that one. So,
Yep, interrupt anytime.
thanks.
We do have some authorized and unissued debt, which is debt that has been authorized by town meeting, yet we have not incurred yet. We have $83,500 left on an ag open space authorization. That was originally for, I believe, $1.5 million. And over the years, we've borrowed down for several different purchases of open space. The Ag Open Space Committee has recently contacted me and asked that we rescind this. They do not feel the 83.5 is going to be enough to purchase any of the properties that they would be interested in. So you'll see in our town meeting article to rescind that. In addition to that, we have authorized an unissued debt for the roof and the high school, west roof and the middle high school construction. What's left on there cannot be, those are in the process, both of those projects, until once they're closed out by MSBA. If there's any remaining unissued debt, we will be able to put it on town meeting. The Clean Water Trust loan is also authorized and unissued. That one will be issued in February. That's closing in February, so that will come off this list soon. And then we also have an additional $350,000 for the sewer water line. And that is non-excluded debt. So that one, if it's issued, if the sewer water committee or whoever decides they need to utilize those funds, it will be non-excluded debt. Gary?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Gary.
So, Sue, on that last one you just mentioned, is that being paid by user fees from the water sewer users, or is that general fund debt?
No, that was general fund debt, and the article says to authorize borrowing for engineering service for a purpose of funding the design of a sewer and water line Northwest, including cost of design and other so far we have not used it. They've been able to, they utilized, they did do a lot of this already, and they used at the time ARPA funds.
Yeah.
And
so
such.
I guess the question is, and this is probably not, you probably weren't involved with it, but at probably higher level, who made the decision to make that general fund debt when in fact it's the benefit enterprise funds? Shouldn't that have been enterprise fund related water and sewer usage fees that are paying that down, and not general fund, fund debt?
I think they put it through as this way. I'm not sure why they did it.
What was the date of that article?
That's what I'm looking for. 6/5/21, article number 30.
So this is to benefit water and sewer users within the enterprise fund. That should have been enterprise fund debt. Why I'm a little unclear on why it's general fund debt, when in fact it's for a specific use for the enterprise funds. Is that something is Jim here? I don't know if somebody can answer. I don't even know if Jim was here at the time.
It was not.
He was
21.
Gary, I think the simple answer is that when you sit in a town meeting and they're throwing all these articles at you, people start zoning over unless they have a specific thing, and this was probably just tossed in and people said yeah.
The finance committee goes through every single one of those articles, Al.
I'm not talking finance. I'm talking about the general public at the town meeting when they vote.
But the finance committee would have reviewed those articles prior to it being on the warrant
Fair
for
enough.
town meeting. So collectively, some of us should have some recollection. I mean, it was 4 years ago, so we should remember when that article, I certainly cannot remember that article from 4 years ago at all. I mean,
Maybe
you was
Nicole-
shaking
Nicole's
his
on hand
head.
up. Maybe she can.
I
maybe
And the
can't
Nicole-
town,
remember it.
and the town has a water fund. It does not have a sewer fund, right? Because that was a
Right.
proposal to go on town meeting last May, which that was an article. So there is no sewer fund currently. So maybe since there was no fund established, that the answer was the debt had no other choice because it didn't have a sewer fund to go towards. Right? Does that make sense, Nicole?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
I
Oh,
think
so
it
this is
also,
what, this
I
is,
think they
this is
tried to
sewer,
do a
not-
debt exclusion and it wasn't voted, it was voted down.
Oh,
But we
okay.
don't have a sewer enterprise as of yet.
right.
And
And
right now,
certainly didn't
anything,
have one in 20. We didn't have one in
No.
21. That's for
and
sure.
anything we're doing now towards the sewer is all being paid by grants and ARPA. So,
Right.
yeah, we haven't
Yeah,
spent
so
any town
eventually-
money yet.
Eventually, if this morphs into a bigger project or whatever, I would hope that the town then initiates the sewer enterprise fund so that any of these fees are paid by user fees that are being, that are using the sewer. Basically, I mean, you've got 99% of the town that's on septic, and we've had this argument before. How can you commingle both expenses?
Gary, may I suggest that's not before us tonight?
No, I know, but it could be, and
In a few years, we might deal with it rather than tonight.
yeah, I think it'll be shorter than 2 years.
Well,
So and I agree, Hugh, right? So just to get back, Sue, to what your point is to bring this up was that there's authorized debt that could be borrowed if it so chooses that would affect the future budgets. Is that what your point of that was, right? Okay.
Yes, correct.
Great, thank you. So it's not impacting the fiscal 26
Anything-
budget that we're referring to because there's not an anticipation at this time that there'd be borrowing, but there could be, right? Because the town has already authorized the,
Right. At
Right.
this time, town meeting has authorized it, so I believe it would just take a vote of the Board of Selectmen to tell me, Sue, we want you to do that borrowing, and it will be done.
and at the present time, you do not have that in the fiscal 26 budget as.
Correct.
Okay,
There's no indication at this time that they're looking to borrow this money.
Right.
Like Nicole said, they're utilizing or have been utilizing ARPA and grant funds to do any of
Right.
the work at this point. And I believe they're going to continue to try to do the same.
The treasurer.
right.
Hmm.
Okay, thank you. So just getting back to, we weren't not having a general sewer discussion. It was relative to the potential borrowings to that article. So thank you.
So, and other than that, the numbers that I sent over are actually just directly from the debt payment schedules that are supplied by the banks when we do the borrowing, and those are the actual costs that we're looking at.
Great. Thank you, Susan. Any other questions for Susan on those? On the debt? No, okay.
Okay, and as far as my treasurer collector budget, again, there's not much that's changed on it. The increases are all simply for under the personnel section is just the normal payroll increases according to contracts, etc. And then any other increases on the expenses are strictly small anticipated increases in things such as postage and printing and such of bills that I expect will be happening.
Mhm.
There's really nothing new and shocking on there. The biggest thing on there is that there is that I've increased somewhat, even though I won't need to be going to school this year. I've got both of my certifications, passed my treasurer's certification this year. Already had my collector's certification. So I'm hoping to send a couple of my girls to school this year. So I've increased that a little bit so that we can, they can go to school. And I'm hoping that somebody will be ready to take over for me when I'm ready to retire.
No, you're too young for that.
No, I'm not.
Positive.
Hugh, go ahead.
A very small question. So in the past, there have been return envelopes with the tax bills. It didn't seem to be this time. Is that a change in approach for save money or something else going on?
I don't know.
It's
I don't know why they didn't include them this time.
Okay.
I was
It
kind of,
wasn't planned, it just happened. Thank you.
yeah. It should reflect in the printing cost because they charge me. I'm sure my printing should be down a little bit on this because we are charged for them.
I'm sure you'll check on them. That's
I
fine.
will.
Sue, is there a savings? So Hugh asked, so obviously Hugh gets the mail and he gets a paper bill. I get everything electronic and auto pay. Is it less expensive for the town to not have to send out bills? And is it more efficient to do it electronically? And if that's the case, is there any push to try to encourage electronic?
No, the electronic, if you pay through our online bill pay system,
Yeah.
you can sign up and create an account and they will email you when you have a bill available to pay. We do not have any way of tracking email. They have a system that they can utilize to track your email and so forth. We just do not have any way to track people's emails. So we mail everybody a tax bill because we are required to know that we send them out and do mailing certification. So even though you may not pay attention to your mail, you did get one in the mail or should have.
You get one, right? You don't get it quarterly, you get one.
We
Correct.
get two.
You get
Is
two.
it one or two? You get two. I
Two.
think.
I only get one.
You get one in July, our way of saying happy 4th of July. And that's due for August and November. And then you get another one in January that's due for February and May. That's our way of saying Happy New Year.
Oh, I only remember getting one, but I guess you're right. Yeah, we do get two.
Yep.
That's why you're in arrears.
So you're required to incur that expense, even though someone like me wants nothing to do with even opening up a paper mail.
Yes.
And I just toss it out. I don't even remember. So you still have to, the town still has to pay
I
for the
believe
printing and postage.
it used to be in the law that we were required to physically mail a bill for everything. I think there's been some changes to that. I honestly haven't followed through with those changes that have on the possibility of doing electronic because we do not have the capability of doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
My impression is that it might be cheaper for the town, but it's more expensive for the taxpayer because the processing of other people is not free.
Right.
So I don't think
Yeah,
you're
they
gonna
changed
find
it. They changed the law years ago, Hugh. I don't know how many years ago, where the company, the government, the business used to eat the fee that was charged on a credit card. Now it's added too. So you're right. I mean,
it all depends. Some eat the
But
fee.
it all depends.
Yeah.
But don't forget, most people pay this through their mortgage. So, if you don't have a mortgage and you're paying the bill direct, that's one
Mhm.
thing. If
Good point.
most people, it's included in their mortgage payment. So they're not even really, they'll still see the bill, but they're not paying that bill separately.
That's a good
Most
point.
most people are not.
Old people don't have mortgages anymore.
That's right.
I was going to say, you'd be surprised at how many people do not have mortgages. We get a tremendous amount of our payments but I'm thankful for those that do come through on mortgages.
That's because there are a lot of older people in Westport. That's why.
Yes.
And only getting older. Yeah.
All right. Anything else on that? So we'll wrap that up.
Yep, and that's it on my budget,
All right.
actually. The only other thing I want to bring to your attention is I will have an article that I'll need to discuss with you regarding changes to the tax title law that was recently implemented. Lots of changes on that. So I'm going to be presenting an article to increase my revolving fund on that, which I'll include an explanation when that article comes before you. And then I also have concerns about a human resource department, which I would ask that perhaps we can schedule that for a discussion at some point.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep. I think that's a good idea.
So you know that I support that wholeheartedly.
yes, thank you.
All right, well, we can certainly, if we can manage to gather our collective, select board, school committee, finance committee meeting, we'll certainly be talking about the fiscal 26 budget as a whole and other needs and other gaps and other things, and we can certainly, make sure we talk about that then. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure thing. All right, Susan, anything else on any other questions for Susan? I think you've covered everything. I appreciate you wrote all that in your memo, so.
Actually, I just want to add one thing to what Susan said.
Sure.
In talking about that, because it is related to her department budget. So I don't want to feel that
Right.
we're taking this out of context of what our agenda says. But and perhaps she's reluctant to bring it up, but the treasurer's office ends up getting inundated with HR questions regarding health insurance and other types of things. Their office is only the mechanism to provide for deductibles from the salary payments for such health insurance. She is not the healthcare advisor. The treasurer, the collector is not deemed to be the healthcare professional to know which healthcare plans we should have and what the healthcare plans include and what they don't include, and is there a death benefit to an employee in town and blah blah
Right.
blah. That's not the purpose of the treasurer collector's office. And because of our lack of having any type of HR department, those things end up in her lap. So you talk about the servicing of these water loans at a very low rate. At least we're getting paid for that part of it. The part about all of the health insurance and all of those things, we're not getting paid any extra for, and that's a very significant burden that is placed on the treasurer's office currently. You could go in there any afternoon after school, after teachers are out, and chances are there's a teacher in there wanting to know about healthcare coverage, blah, 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 because that's where they go to get these answers. I mean, Susan, is that incorrect?
No, it's not. As a matter of fact, today we had, the school department had a new hire. So there was a team there today that we're doing all the onboarding for any of the benefits that they're interested in, so on and so forth. We take care of all that onboarding. So there's a teacher in there that we're in there taking care of today. Then we're notified from the school department that somebody who was just hired in November is leaving. So now we're doing all the reversals on that person, notifying all the department, the insurance department, and whether it be the life insurance, the health insurance, or the 401k, whatever, all these things that they're no longer with us. And so,
Right, and it's schools, it's other departments. I mean,
oh yeah,
it's just the burden of those types of issues that end up on the threshold of that door.
yes,
that,
Yeah,
bel-
it's
that do
endless.
not belong there, do not
Um,
belong there.
Right, right.
So anyway, that is something that we do need to bring up at a future meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy. And you're right. It does tie into the department because the department is providing the service without either the time or necessarily all the expertise to
Right.
do that, right? So,
That's my big concern is
Right.
that we are not trained in all
Right.
of this
right,
and the compliance requirements that go along with some of these things.
right.
Yeah.
And it's not just benefits, it's, I'm sure, payroll and FMLA and some
FLSA and
or workers' comp issues or any of those, or I'm sure fall to a lot to your department. So, yes, so it is related to the HR, but,
Yeah.
go ahead, Al.
No, I just wanted to tag on and just very, very briefly. And it's not just that it gets dumped on Susan's desk. Jim also, who is wearing about 40 hats, in addition. And this issue, if we don't correct it, potentially leads the town into a lawsuit and liability issues as well, because it's so damn complex. It is so ever changing. But we really do need to, I believe, address this in a separate issue, separate venue, but really address the whole notion of human resource and so I'll leave it at that. But it's not just a fluffy thing. I mean, this is a real issue that we have not really dealt with as a town, not a finance committee necessarily, but as a town.
yeah, we have approximately 450 employees between
Yeah,
the
it's
school and the town.
Crazy.
Duncan, you have your hand up.
Yeah, quick question, Susan. The school department has at least 2 HR people that I'm aware of. Why don't they deal with that kind of question?
I don't know. And that's one of my questions. I think we need to sit down, not so much at a finance committee meeting with everybody, but a smaller group of us get together and say, okay, what is it that you're doing that, because I don't know what exactly their duties are. And they have a full-time and a part-time HR person. They also have a full-time payroll person. We only have a full-time payroll person.
Yeah, it just, to me, they should handle all the school employees,
Right,
all the benefits, all of that stuff. I mean, that's just simple.
I don't know exactly why some of the things are done the way that they are. And I think that's something that we need to find out. We need to sit down with the people from the school department that do these and find out what their duties are. I know some of what they do, but I do not know all of what they do. So I'm not going to say they're, not
Right.
doing
So
their job.
We're kind of going outside of the boundaries a little bit
Yeah.
of we don't,
Susan, I would assume you start with Jim. He's the one who's in the middle of everything.
right.
If-
But
if
we'll,
I
I,
can, Madam Chair, I would just
oh,
like
go ahead, Christopher. I just wanted to make sure we're not going into the boundaries of discussing other departments' functions
No,
within.
no.
So,
I think this is very relevant to the discussion because I absolutely agree with Susan that this HR situation is something that needs to be addressed.
Mhm.
I think that there is, this is actually something that I looked into on the school department side, and I will say that I think there's a level of confusion as to who actually has access to what. Ultimately the town being the name on the paycheck or the entity on the paycheck, but at the same time, I know that a lot of the onboarding involves the forms getting filled out on the school department side and then getting dumped on Susan to actually implement. So I think part of that is a systems issue, but also just I think that there really hasn't been a discussion about how to approach this. And this is a perfect example of a function that I think that both the town side and the school department can utilize resources on both sides to correct this problem, because it is clearly an issue, and I don't think currently the way it's being done is not working and needs to be addressed. And I'm hoping that that can, I remember talking about this last year, as a matter of fact. So I'm really hoping that sooner rather than later, parties can sit down and try and figure out a way forward on this.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to take. We need to find a way that's going to be efficient for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, and just, clearly this equates to the overall umbrella of the fiscal 26 budget, which, it is clearly is on our agenda for tonight, but this is a great general budget discussion, right? So we all look at what's in the budget, but we need to also look at what's not in the budget, right? So what other services are needed where are the gaps? And this is clearly identified as a potential gap. And can it be covered by existing personnel, or is it something that we really need to talk about funding in some capacity? And if so, how, right? But absolutely. So it's on my notes that we'll make sure we talk about. Anything else, Susan?
I'm all
On
set.
your budgets? All right. Well, hang tight, because you always love to hang tight, or go, whatever you choose.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. So the next budget we have is Nicole, the town accountant budget.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My budget really doesn't change much from year to year. 3% salary increase for both myself and my assistant. My OPEB is a short year this year, so we went from 10,000 to 1,000 because every other year is a full year. This is a short year, 26. We signed a new contract with the auditors for 3 years. That's the increase in the auditor line from 27,500 to 36,000. I'm working towards our cloud integration for our accounting and collections. We've run against a few problems, and we may be looking at other options. So I'm hoping to get things done for July 1st, but still waiting to hear. I'm also working on updating financial policies and procedures, because some of them were just copied over from other towns, and we need to take a hard look at them and make a few changes. We've updated our procedures a little bit over the years with memos here and there, so we just want to get them all consolidated. So that's pretty much it. Any questions?
Nicole, yeah.
Yep.
So we're using Roselli and Clark still, right?
Yes, I'm still using Roselli and Clark.
He is 36,500.
36,000 even this year.
Okay,
I think he's going up. So it's a 3-year contract. So 26 is one cost, and it's going to go up a little bit more each year. I think it goes up like $500 each year for the 3 years.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah.
No. But we've been 27.5 for the past, 10, 15 years. So I expected an increase. Yeah.
Okay.
He does a good job. He's working on our audit. They were in a couple of weeks ago. They were in before Christmas to finalize some stuff. I got some information from Chad the other day. So they're close to being done with the audit for this year, for fiscal 24.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you're happy with him because, he's helped us out along the way and in the past, things that we've needed. And, I'm sure that a lot of times that he's done that, he hasn't charged the town. He got it through some difficult times back then. And if you're happy with him, I think that, the extra $500 is that's nominal.
Yeah. We're very happy with him. He does a really good job.
Yeah. Okay.
You're right, Gary. I mean, 500 is not going to move the needle one way or the other.
No, and he knows the town and he has experience with us, so I think it's a good fit. All right, that's all the questions I had.
Well, Nicole, I think you set a world's record for getting free cash certified this year.
I said I was going to get it done on time this year, and I got it done on time.
I know. Congratulations.
Thank you. We did have one little glitch, so we had to have it recertified. When Diamond had given us a credit for the premium that they had for their bonding. I had to recertify free cash because we had to reserve for that piece of debt. It was $17,198. And that was the decrease from the original free cash amount to what we have now.
Okay. Well, congratulations on getting that done so quick. That was well noticed, and everybody's been trying to spend it 100 different ways since you got it certified. Maybe doing it early is not a good thing.
Well, at least we didn't have to do, way in the past, we used to do a fall special town meeting once free cash was certified, and we'd spend it all in December, but,
Yeah.
luckily we didn't have to do that.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for Nicole?
No.
Nope. Okay.
No.
Well, Nicole, I'll touch base with you separately on our email exchange. So I'm still trying to reconcile last year's numbers, but I'll touch base with you after that. So.
All right, I'll be in the office.
All right, I know you will.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Nicole. Appreciate it. All right, so the last budget we have for tonight is the highway budget. And Gary, you volunteered to be speaking on behalf of the highway department tonight, right?
Yes, so you had the budgets for the highway, snow and ice. I said that to Karen, so she shared that with everybody.
Yep.
His budget is pretty much level funded. The town engineer that's in there, you see for 123.6. That's I don't know if is Jim on the call?
He's not.
He's not. So that's a position that they put in that felt that they would need that position to help with the design of roads and so on and so forth. So the others are pretty much contractual. The department head, Chris Gonzalez, a highway surveyor. So he's that's per contract. You see the list of FTEs, which is he's got a few openings. He's got himself a clerk, and I believe they're hiring a new clerk. He's got a couple of laborers. He's got a foreman. Then he has about 3 positions that are still vacant. So he's, we're competitive now with the state and other entities and trying to get these positions filled. And then he's got his normal, expenses, heat, electricity. He's gone up a little bit in road repair and maintenance. They went up a little bit on telephone.
So Gary, before you keep going, I want to ask questions about the FTEs because I'm confused. So looking at the town administrator budget and listening to the town administrator, somebody's got some side talking going on.
I get it. Oh, yeah, somebody got phone.
Right. Okay. I think the town administrator is proposing to decrease open position. And that's the budget that we have. It looks like it's proposing to go down.
Well, he's got 3. Which position is that? One of the SEOs?
I don't know what it's in the line. It's non-clerical. It's the proposal. The request is for 183,000 and the town administrator has 425. So from what I heard from what the town administrator and speaking when he presented to the select board was that the highway department has had open positions for a few years. And
yes,
and the budget has been continuing to keep them appropriated in the budget with the intent that they would hire those positions. And then each year comes by and the highway department did not hire the position. It remains an open position. And then the next year comes and the proposal of the budget again is to appropriate the funds for that position. And so every year we ask the same question, well, why do we have open positions and they're not full? And if the highway department continues to say they're busy, they don't have time to do things, but there's open positions, it's unclear to me what that is. And again, it does seem like the town administrator is pulling something out of the budget. So
Yeah, it's one of the vacant positions. It's one of the SEOs, one of the laborers.
And it, can
That's
you,
58,000. That's around 58,000.
yeah, and what can you help us understand why these positions have stayed open and not filled?
Well, you know, so there is a need in that department for laborers, for people that are actually, you know, maintaining the roads, cutting the grass, plowing the streets. And there hasn't been any movement in order to fill them. I mean, we went through COVID, we went through all these different, you know, scenarios where coming out of COVID, you know, what we were offering as far as a pay rate was concerned, the state was beating us triple that. I mean, remember the plow drivers, for instance, we offered $50 an hour. They were paying 100. So we were in competition with a lot of these other entities that coming out of COVID, we just couldn't fill. So that's continually the problem with the highway department. We'll get them in, and this is like this for every department. We'll get them in, we'll train them, we'll get them all the licenses they need. Then all of a sudden they leave. So we're left with that big expense of having to train these folks. Then they go get a job at paying $40 an hour with either Serta Bus or Mass DOT. So this has been the ongoing story for the last 3-4 years. Now, not saying that the department doesn't need that level of FTEs. It probably does, and then more. I mean, we just talked about 20 years ago, you know, the town hasn't shrunk. We're still plowing and maintaining the same amount of roads. And having to do more for other departments just puts more of a burden on the department. So, you know, I've been down there, I've visited the facility multiple times. They do the best they can with their equipment. They're spread thin when it comes to a snowstorm. You know, back in the day, I remember my street used to get plowed 3-4 times. Now you might see the plowed on there once. And it's no fault of the department, but it's just they don't have the staff to maintain the level of like miles of road that we have in town. So I guess pulling that position out is a balancing act, but again, it's hard to fill these positions, especially the laborers. And it's not just Westport. This is statewide. There's an issue, you know. But you know, as Tim, you know, Jim's the town administrator. He has to evaluate that. So he's going to evaluate. Yeah, we went so many years. There hasn't been. It's not that there's no need. It's just that he's trying to balance the budget, and I get it.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary. Go ahead, Hugh. You've got your hand up.
Yeah, well, it seems to me, I understand what Gary's saying, et cetera, but if you have two positions, we'll say we can't fill because we're not paying enough, then I would think we would pay more to get one and to get the other position. I mean, if it's, you know, if you find that you're under the market and can't hire somebody, either you're going to have to do without or raise to the market. So I don't know quite why I haven't done that.
Well, I think it's a good concept, but I think it's easier said than done. Remember, these are union positions. So,
Right.
You know, that'd be bargaining with the union. That would be opening up the contract again if it was a mid-year contract. So, yeah, in the perfect world, that would be what we should be doing. But, you know, it's.
Yeah, I agree with you, but still, it's going on for 2 or 3 years. There's no time to do something about it. Or try to anyway. It may not be possible, but it doesn't seem to be working as it is now. Which, you know, I think nobody's fault. It's a matter of circumstances. As you say, inflation, the values go up everywhere and everything. Everybody's hiring. They find that employees cost more than they were expecting. Not said.
Thanks, Hugh. Cindy, go ahead.
So, you know, I'll kind of address this to Gary to some degree. Gary, so as you know, we did the salary survey study, and we found that, Westport is fairly competitive, if you will, regarding as it compares to other municipalities, not necessarily compared to private companies, right? So, you need a laborer for some a private work firm, and they're going to pay a little bit more. Does Dartmouth have openings? Do you know that you're aware of? I mean, are they having the same difficulty?
Many.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is just, a problem. I mean, we do find that when we did the salary survey that the highway rates were not, well below other municipalities. They were competitive, perhaps a little bit on the low end, but certainly within the range of other cities and towns that we comp to. So it's just a problem finding people that are willing to do that type of work in the summer and the winter.
Yeah, and a big piece of this too, Cindy, is as we know, because we sit on the personnel board, and the rash of requests that we get.
Right.
Not only are people looking at salary, but they're looking at benefits. They're looking at health insurance. That's the
benefits,
biggest one.
right?
That's the biggest plan in all this. So if they're looking at a community that's 50-50, or they're looking at a community that's 75-25, where do you think they're going to go? So
Right.
It's not just the 27.05 an hour. It's
Correct.
It's what's built into that that's really
Correct.
causing people to shift
Correct.
and move all over the place. So that's
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So that is that does continue to be a problem.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So
And while we're on salary, just to recap too, so the town engineer position is not a new position in the budget this year. So it's in the fiscal 25 budget. The town has not yet hired
Yes.
that town engineer. And so at this point, they're proposing to fund that open position and actually hire that position.
The position
that was
is-
fiscal 20.
the
That fiscal
position is
23 or 24.
25. So it's in the
Current
current
budget.
year. So the one July 1st, 24 through June 30th, 25.
But
Right.
that
It's in this
position-
year's budget.
That position is currently going to be before the personnel board tomorrow to change the job description for that position to be a little bit more encompassing of overseeing perhaps other departments. The select board has not completely signed off on that yet. It's a request before the personnel board to look at that job description. And it would oversee potentially, and I want to use the words potentially, because once again, the select board has not signed off on this, but it has been discussed to oversee cemetery, the cemetery, highway, and potentially the transfer station. So, but that'll be a matter of discussion tomorrow for that position.
Great. Thank you, Cindy.
Okay.
All right. Gary, so you've got more other non-personnel expenses that are less dollars, but nonetheless, we'll let you go. Continue on.
Yeah. So, he's going up a little bit in road repair, maintenance, just the cost of everything, as you know, like asphalt, everything's up, fuel and so on and so forth. Well, fuel's down, but asphalt is way up. Gas and oil. Jim felt it was okay to reduce that a little bit, so he reduced that a little bit down. Uniforms and clothing, that's gone up. And let's see, he's reduced site and building improvement, replace additional equipment. What their biggest hurdle right now is repairing these old vehicles. And if you go down there, you'd say, wow, 1980, you got trucks on there from the 1980s and they're still running. I mean, and there's a cost to maintaining that now because you can't find parts for that anymore. And if they break in the line of service, now you got to bring a replacement vehicle in that's just 5 years older. So it's not conducive to repair these vehicles too much longer. And replacing these vehicles now, it's an arm and a leg. I mean, you're talking $100,000 now for a setup for a plow and a dump truck. That's not heard of. So they do the best they can. I've been down there to replace blades on plows. They do their own brake jobs. They do their own oil changes just to try to save the town a few more bucks. And kudos to them and the guys and girls that work down there. So that's his budget as far as the overall budget for non-personnel and general expense.
Mhm. Thanks, Gary. Al, you've got your hand up.
I do, and Gary, I'm glad you brought up about repairing and the guys maintaining this stuff. And I'm the liaison to the fire department, but speak often to the police department as well. And I'm sure there's other departments. We don't know as a town just how much we are being saved by the people that work there every single day. The ones that put bubble gum and rubber bands on these things to keep it to keep them running, to keep our budget intact. So I don't want to go, over the top, but I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it's extremely important, and we should probably have a line item budget in the budget to just let people know what are being done to keep our aged equipment going. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Well, I can tell you, in this department alone, it's probably well north of $100,000 a year annually, because you look. I mean, you walk in there and they're doing equipment repair that's should be brought out to a third party. And, now what does that cost? $15,000-$20,000 a whack. They're doing it all in house. So, yeah, there's a level of dedication there. I think that, they've done it for years.
Yep. So a shout out to all of them. I don't care who it is, whether it's the printer at the town hall, or whether it is the fire department or highway department or whatever. They really are dedicated people, and they deserve our respect, and not questioning a lot of stuff that we do.
Thanks, Al. Anything else on the highway budget? Well, thanks, Gary, for presenting. Much appreciated.
Okay, the snow and ice. You want to do snow and ice?
Oh, yeah, we can do snow and ice. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's quick.
Right.
It's been warm. So.
It's not much to it.
Right. Yeah. So then salt has gone up tremendously, and they stockpile it as much as they can down there. And now they use a blend of salt and sand. At one time it was strictly sand. Now they use more salt than they use sand. So it's at 150,000 for the year. But as you look at FY25, there's really nothing used. It stayed level. So they're figuring, another mild winter will get us through.
And it's the only budget you can deficit spend.
Overspend.
So,
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And raise it.
That's always important to know. So,
Yeah.
because you can never predict.
Yeah. Thank God for global warming. At least we don't have that.
Doesn't feel so warm today.
No, not at all.
So that's it for the highway.
All right.
And
Thanks,
snow ice.
Gary.
Yep.
Great. Terrific. Okay. All right. So that wraps up our budgets for our department budgets for tonight. Just kind of looking ahead. I'm just kind of jumping ahead while I'm thinking about budget. So we do have a meeting scheduled for next week, and the only department budget that we have scheduled is the building department. And I think we've already determined that the building department may not even be available. And I know the town administrator is not available next week. So we may want to cancel that. And then our next budget meeting is February 11th with Westport Community School. And then that should pretty much wrap up our department budget meetings. So we've just got through the bulk of it tonight.
Are we going to have the beach committee in?
It's been on there to be scheduled. I mean, they haven't been scheduled, so I can't get them to come in if they're not scheduled. I'm not sure who the liaison is on that one, that if maybe someone can reach out to Sean, that would be helpful. Who's the liaison to that committee? I'm not sure either. Okay. Yeah.
Was that to the building department?
We were talking about the beach committee.
Beach committee.
Oh, okay.
We don't have the beach scheduled. I mean, they're primarily their own fund, but
Right, they're
it
all
is,
enterprise.
you know, their own enterprise.
Yeah, it's more a
Um,
courtesy call than anything.
Right, exactly. Right.
Recreation?
I'm not sure who that is, but I don't mind.
Okay.
What?
Beach is not under recreation?
No, it's a freestanding.
I'm
You
not
want me to
sure
check?
who's speaking. All right, so back to our agenda. So the second item on the agenda was any discussion of the fiscal 26 budget. I don't know if anybody had any questions or thoughts or anything. We've certainly talked about the fiscal 26 budget within our conversation, so anything?
The only thing I'd ask, I think we're premature in terms of the governor's budget, but we were talking about roughly this time, last time we met. I assume nothing has come out.
Not that I've heard, but I think it was around this time is the expectation, so maybe something will happen this week. Because Gary, didn't you say the MMA is having a meeting or there's something going?
Yeah,
do you
so
know
the
governors?
MMA's meeting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and usually the governor will go up there and talk about the highlights of the budget. So she'll talk about key drivers and this and that. So we'll get a good sense of what maybe the cherry sheet even starts to look like.
Right, okay. Okay,
Not-
so within a week, we'll have some number a little
Yeah.
closer anyway.
Not directly relevant, but not good news. I saw in the press that the state has to repay the feds $2.1 billion over
Right, it's over,
the last next 10
yeah,
years.
over 10 years, right? Yeah,
For what?
Yes, right. Still.
Yeah.
Big number.
What is that for?
Misapplying funds.
Misappropriation of unemployment.
unemployment funds
Right.
from during COVID. I believe it was during COVID times that the state misused some federal money towards unemployment that they weren't supposed to.
Yeah, they're gonna have
I
to.
remember this
I think-
issue came up last year and they weren't sure how it was going to get settled.
They'll probably go into the stabilization for that, which is not good.
Yeah, right.
I think
I
you
guess
can
they're gonna.
assume that the new administration is not terribly happy with sanctuary states.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure they'll
All right,
charge
well,
them.
we'll see in a week. We'll see where that goes.
Karen, may I just,
Yeah.
to get my calendar, so we're not meeting next week. Is that true, or am I making it up?
Well, the only item on the agenda was the building department, but so we don't have any department meetings and it might be a little too early to be discussing a budget number because we won't have anything. So
That's
I
fine.
would suggest.
So the
we
fourth,
cancel.
so the fourth then is our next kind of heavy meeting. Is that correct?
So our current schedule was to actually meet the 28th and then take the 4th off and then meet the 11th, but we could switch
Oh,
it and take
okay. No.
next week off.
No.
Potentially the 4th might be a good time because we may have budget numbers that from the town administrator that we could be
Okay.
looking at. So that might be
Fine.
a good date.
So
Maybe we can set it.
I'll just wait for your directive then as
Yeah.
far as, what we do.
Await the call of the chair.
Yes.
That's
let's-
right.
Let's kind of pencil it into our Tuesday night
and
rendezvous
the
and then
11th.
we can see if we have information for it or not.
Gotcha. Okay, great.
Otherwise, our
Thank
next
you.
meeting would be the 11th with the school. And
Gotcha. That's great.
I think the thought would be that meeting would be an in-person to the extent our members can attend
Mhm.
and have a hybrid option in case someone from the general public or a member was ill or couldn't attend, then you'd be able to go on. Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm on vacation that week,
right,
Karen.
okay.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you note that in the calendar for the 11th?
We'll miss you.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, I am. I am sincere, absolutely. Um,
I enjoy the in-person meetings. I can't wait till they come back.
I know, I would enjoy having more of them occasionally.
all right. Well, we can certainly do that at the pleasure of the committee.
But not on
Um,
a night like tonight.
Right. All right. So the next item was any committee and liaison updates. Does anybody have anything to share on that front? Did someone say anything?
Nope.
Put your hand up.
No.
Yeah, the only, no, I just, this afternoon, CIPC, has a recommendation that's coming to the finance committee of the capital improvement, items, if you will, from the different departments. And so we agreed on that. We settled it, and we're not going to meet anymore unless it needs to be.
Wow, that's early. So that's terrific.
It is.
Congratulations on that.
Well, it's always easy when you have some excess money to be able to sprinkle around, but
Right, right.
but yeah,
right.
so I just wanted to bring that up. So
That's terrific. Well, great. We look forward to that. Thank you. Any other committee updates? I don't think so. Okay. The next item was to approve the January 14th, 2025 minutes. I read through them today, and I want to hold if we can. So, 1 second, sorry. I had a couple of comments in the discussion with the town administrator that I'd like to kind of just, so I'd like to hold on approving those. I have some edits that I'd like to make to those. So we can pass through those. I have no correspondence to report. We've already talked about our next meeting schedule and our next agenda. So if anybody has any future agenda items, you can email me. I have nothing else to say. Anybody else have anything to say?
Other than a motion to adjourn?
There we
Second.
go. And I think we got a second on that, right?
we did.
We got 5 seconds on that. All right. All right. So Al,
Aye.
Hugh,
Hugh Morton, aye.
Gary,
I think Gary's frozen.
He's
Gary's
frozen.
looks frozen.
No.
He definitely looks frozen. Okay.
So appropriate.
Is Zach frozen too?
No,
No, Zach's-
Zach
All right.
LaBrue.
Probably colder in
Thank
his house.
you. Christopher,
Christopher Thrasher, aye.
Duncan.
Duncan Law, aye.
All right. And Gary still looks frozen. So we'll go without, we'll end the meeting without him. And
I
Karen
did
Rouse,
vote.
aye.
I did-
Yeah, the
I did
Polar
vote.
Express,
I
right?
did vote. I did vote.
You didn't vote, Cindy Brown. Sorry.
Aye.
I keep forgetting you.
I'm down in
All
the
right,
corner
everyone.
tonight.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Good
everyone.